Hey everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. This is Two Catholic Dudes, and my name is Ryan Klaus.
My name is Danny Cleary.
And as always, we're not priests, we're not theologians, we're just two Catholic dudes, and we're talking about our faith.
And again, we are blessed. We have an in-person guest. I always like in-person guests. Not that I don't like digital guests, but I really
There's something special about having a tangible person in the room, right?
Yes, and we have Leo. I'm gonna mess up your last name, Leo Fonseca.
That's right. That's right. You got it. Yes.
You're not Italian, but you get that little Italian. You do that with your hand like that. It works out.
It helped me. So, fellow digital creator on Instagram for the Catholic world, musician, just jack of all trades. So, thank you so much for being on our show. We can't wait to dive into this conversation. We had a lot of off-camera talk outside.
Lots.
It's one of those things where we're like, why are we not?
I was like, let's
record.
Stop. We're wasting good podcast material. So let's bring it into the podcast room and let's put this on camera.
That's right.
So thanks for joining us, Leo. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. This is cool. We're like just 20 minutes away.
Yeah. I thought you were up further in LA.
Nope.
You know, we'd seen each other at Religious Ed Congress a few years back, and more like acquaintances, but we reconnected just only a couple weeks ago, because you're starting a podcast.
Yes.
And so Leo invited me on his show, and this is a funny story.
Oh God.
We did an episode of, it was really going to be episode 1 of your podcast.
Yeah, number 1.
And so I'm super grateful to be a part of that. It was.
Thank you for being there.
That podcast was fire.
Yeah, it was the first one.
The first one. So I feel so much better because we've had some mistakes. Remember when Gia was on the show? I forgot to hit record.
First 15 minutes
gone, and I looked down at the phone and I was like, guys, stop. We're not recording. So
she just goes, "You're joking, right?" It's like, nope.
Can't get those 15 minutes back. But so okay, I was embarrassed because I sent my video and my audio to you, and I was like, dude, I totally botched the video. The focus is all wrong. I'm embarrassed by it. And then you were like,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, I was like, no, man, my audio did not record, like not one bit. Yeah, I only had my camera audio, but it was horrible because the camera was like so far.
Yeah.
So I was like, I couldn't. And then you told me, just mix it, try to fix it. There was no way to. It was way too far. I was like, oh.
The irony is that most of what we talked about was how good of production that both of us do. Yeah. And how we're like, guys, you got to step up your production for your churches and do it right. We're not saying we're the best, but we do a pretty good job. And then both of us mess up and podcast in the trash.
And I think that's the gamble with having such a high level of production, is there's also a high level of technical difficulties that you could possibly have, but that shouldn't stop anybody from striving for that high quality of content that you guys produce. I just talk on our show. Ryan does all the quality.
Well, stuff. I mean, I think more than that, man. It's just sometimes you got to do it 3 or 4 times just to get it right. And some people just don't want to do that second, third, or 4th time if it needs to be done.
They give up because it's just a little too hard.
Oh, no, it's like, I'm not even getting paid for this or whatever. I mean, sometimes they don't even take pride in what they do. So, I've done a couple, of my videos that took me like a whole week to get it done, just because when I ran it back, I was like, no, that sucked.
It's not good enough.
Yeah, it's not good enough. I'm not okay with it. I'm not going to watch it again. So it's just not good enough.
Right. And it's that dedication. And so many people, I saw a stat on what it takes to truly be great in anything. And so many people are almost there. They get so far, and all they needed to do was take, those extra 3 steps. But that's when it got really hard, and they decided, no, this is unattainable, this is unreachable, and they give up. And if they only saw it, it was right there in within an arm's reach.
Yeah, it's just that extra effort, just to make it work.
Right.
On anything. We're not just talking about production, but on anything.
Sure.
From church, choir, youth ministers, whatever. That extra effort makes a huge difference.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we put in the extra effort, and the next week we redid the entire podcast, and no one will ever hear that first one. I'm telling you, it was fire, you guys. It was so good. But I feel like the one we redid was pretty good too. So hopefully,
it was really good. It was a little bit more structure. That was the difference.
Yeah.
The second one had a little bit more structure. The first one, we just went all out and we said whatever we had to say. And it's like, oh, okay, that's yeah. I mean,
maybe it was God going calm it down, boys.
Yeah,
calm it down.
Calm it down a little bit. But I mean, again. One of the things I was telling Ryan at that moment is this is my first time doing this. So I got to learn from you guys. I got to learn from people that already do it. It's not the same thing as just putting the camera up and then just doing it myself.
Yeah.
For me, for the audience. This is conversations, specific conversations on topics that are important, so sometimes even trying to drive the conversation is hard enough, it's super hard.
Absolutely.
Because you get so sidetracked with so many things. You're like, oh, yeah, well, let me tell you about it.
We had an episode we filmed just last night. We had an episode where we were supposed to be talking about scripture, and we somehow started talking about Pirates of the Caribbean. And it was like, how did we get here? How did we get here?
I love it, though. I love those moments. I live for those moments.
Speaking of being completely derailed, so we're supposed to ask our guests.
We're right on schedule. We are right on schedule for asking our first question.
So we ask our guests this question every single time. Any guess? What is the craziest, wackiest thing that's ever happened to you during Mass?
It was actually recently, to be honest. And I'm a perfectionist when it comes down to music, right? I'm a music director, and I'm really tough on my people, And it was maybe 4 Sundays ago. And my cantor, she said, you know what, I can't do this, something happened at work, I have to stay, quarantine, whatever. I was like, all right, don't worry, I'm not a singer, I could make it work, but I teach how to sing, but I'm not a singer. And I always told people that. So it was just the guitar player and myself doing it, right? So I'm going at it. Next thing you know, on the Gloria, there's this guy behind me singing out loud, just going at it, right?
God bless those people in the congregation.
But that's only when they know the lyrics.
Oh no.
So I'm actually singing. Next thing you know, I'm singing what he's singing, and it's entirely wrong.
Wrong notes too. Everything.
It was everything. I'm like, I had to stop because that wasn't the verse. So I went with him on the verse, and it wasn't a. I don't know where.
Was he kind of close? Because the glory to God, if you speak the glory to God, it's sometimes difficult because it's rare that you actually just speak it instead of singing it. But I mess up the words all the time. Right now, my church is.
But honestly, I've been doing the same mass setting, the actual mass setting, for the past 10 years.
So it's y'all should know this right now.
Yeah, I didn't even have music in front of. I don't need it.
Yeah.
But I just went with it, and I'm like, oh, and then the priest
subconsciously.
Yeah, and then the priest just looked at me and I was like, oh man, that was so embarrassing.
And the whole congregation probably didn't know what to do. It derailed the whole.
But
the whole moment.
No, but the thing is that the part was that the people actually made it work. They're the ones that corrected me during the song. So I was like, okay, but everybody saw that I mess up.
Yeah.
And they were just some of them were laughing, because I'm always saying I'm a perfectionist. This has to be done right all the time. So embarrassed. I've never been so embarrassed in my life, just in that little moment. Which
it happens.
But one of the things that I always teach, to musicians or singers is look, if you mess up, continue, don't stop.
Oh yeah,
that was the number one thing I did. I stopped.
Oh, okay.
And the congregation continued to sing, and I'm like.
You just stood there first.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
Did you have to find your place and then?
Yeah, I had to go in after the third verse. I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
But it was so bad.
Well, we talked about that on your podcast. Is you're not experienced in singing. That's not what you normally do, and so it threw you off because you didn't have the muscle memory down, and you might have been thinking about or experiencing other things, and you weren't just able to totally focus on it. So. Bro in the back singing super loud was able to throw you off.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a person that I learn everything. Even though I read music, I do this, I do that. I learn everything because I'm always the drummer for everybody.
And I've heard you play, and you're amazing.
Oh, thank you. So I can't be flipping pages when I'm drumming. So it's I learned during Congress, I have to learn 52 songs by heart. I have to be on it, and so I'm used to that. During Mass, that's what I do. I learn the song. If I'm gonna do a different psalm or whatever, I learn it, even though I'm not gonna sing it, so that I know where am I all the time. But this time, since I was in front with the mic, I was like, oh man, it was so embarrassing.
Musically, we're not gonna go all about music, but I want to touch on that, and I need to take notes from that because I find myself too locked on the page sometimes. Obviously, I just want to be able to come to Mass and have everything memorized and be able to give of myself. I feel like I got away from that because I've been directing choir so much, and I need to have like all the parts of what everybody's doing in front of me. But what it did was create like a dependence on the sheet music, even if I know it. I've been playing the my Glory to God setting or whatever songs for years and years and years. I know these, but like I still put that sheet music up. But if I can take that down, I can give so much more musically and of myself to that moment.
Yeah, and I think that goes to you know, like preparation on anything, you know, with anything that you do. You know, it's like I prepare myself. I actually listen to the music during the week, so I know what I'm doing on Sunday, you know. And even, you know, a lot of people tell me, oh, you know, you're in Congress, you always play with the big guys or whatever they, you know, that's the way they say it.
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't matter. You got to remember, one of the things that it's very important that you guys don't know is that the actual composer is there. So I can't mess it up.
Yeah.
There's no way of me messing that up. You know, I can't, they won't call me again if I mess up. You know, so same thing. I think like God is the composer of everything.
I was just gonna make that point. You already did,
so it's like
perfect.
I gotta make sure that I know that what I'm doing, and not only musically, I gotta be able to read the people. I gotta be able to read the priest. If there's some changes, you know, some priests just have a way of saying things like they're not gonna go like this. But I know, like my pastor, the one time that he just goes like this to me is the one time that I gotta stop. I gotta find somewhere to stop the music, no matter what.
That's funny. Our pastor is, I've seen it a couple of times, is when the music gets played in the wrong spot or something like that, he just keeps talking. He just talks louder, and the music just. He just muscles through, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
No.
My pastor makes jokes about it. There's been a couple times at my new parish. One time I was singing the Lamb of God, and I said, "Lamb of God, you take away the sins of the world. Have mercy on us." 3 times. On the 3rd time, I was like, "Have mercy on, grant us peace." And afterwards, he's like, "We could always use more mercy."
Oh man!
And then another time, I was so exhausted. I was supposed to sing the memorial acclamation, and I went into the Amen. I was just like zoning, and I was just like, "Amen, when we eat this bread and drink." And everyone was like, looked at me like,
where are we?
What? Are you kidding me?
This guy. You know,
So, if I was the sound technician for that mass and you were doing it wrong, I would be so mad. You're trying to like, where are we? Hold on. Because the key to that is knowing the cues of the mass.
Yeah.
So I think it goes with everything. You know, it's just again, we wouldn't be talking about those things, you know, if you know this experiences wouldn't happen, because that's the fun part. You know, I mean, even at our level, we have to mess up somehow, and that's the way we learn, and that's the way we make it better.
Right.
You know, sometimes, you know, even my wife, she tells me, she's like, you know what, you push yourself too much. Like you're good. She says, I know you're good, but you don't think that you're good enough, and that's your problem. You know, and that has been my problem for a while. You know, it's like I still don't think that I'm good enough for God, and that's one of the things that I sit down and I pray on it, and I ask God for forgiveness, and if I'm not doing it at the level that He wants me to do things, and it's like and then my wife's like, again, you're doing the same thing. It's like, no, you're good. Just you know. But I guess that's just something for any creative person. You know, it's like. You see it and you're like, okay, that's good, but I know I can make it better.
Well, the moment you feel like this is the best I'm ever gonna get, you're doing it wrong. You know, you've missed the point. You should always be striving to be better. And if you think that you reached your peak, then you have, and you're gonna start going backwards or getting worse, or you know, you got to hold yourself to that higher standard. But it's a matter of knowing that you're still worthy. You still have value. You're still good. You know, so it's walking that balancing act, I think.
Yeah, and I think that it gets to the point where it's when you get to the level of when you're kind of creating a lot, right? And everybody that gets to the point of, because we always say, like, just start, get going. If you have a desire, do it. But then, and that's great. But then when you get to the point where you've been doing things for a year, 2 years, 10 years, then it's a different story, because then you want to, it's not just about doing anymore. It's doing it and showing what you've learned, trying to make it the best that you possibly can. And so I get that pressure that you kind of put on yourself, and you know, God bless your wife for being that voice, kind of the voice of Christ.
Yeah, she's a saint.
And,
I don't know why she even married me, but yeah.
But pushing you to see your value and see the truth of what you are bringing to the table, I think that's really cool too. But I understand that pressure, you know, because I think we all put it on ourselves, especially those of us that are, because I think it shows our passion for what we're doing,
Right.
Because we want it to be the best, because we want everyone to. We're trying to glorify God with it, and
Yeah,
He
of
deserves
course.
the best. So we kind of put that pressure that we need to be the best for God.
Right.
I want to touch on something we talked about it on both iterations of your podcast. So if you guys have listened to Leo's podcast and then now you're listening to this, you're hearing the same thing. God bless you for listening to both of these, but you might get something different from this little moment on either of them. But what you were talking about doing your absolute best for God, for whatever it is. We're talking musically, but youth ministry for you, whatever ministry you're at church is doing your best and wanting to create and put your best foot forward. But I think it comes down to culture, because certain churches have it wrong when it comes to the culture of whatever ministry they're in. And I'll let you just kind of lead off, because I think it's really a valuable point. And
Well, one of the things, and like we were talking about earlier, is I think we lost the way, and I'm talking about the entire church, of how to motivate our young adults. You got to be creative. Before, we didn't have this much technology, so it was a little easier, because you really had to dig into things. And me growing up, I was an altar server. I was doing, I was in the choir. I was, doing marathons. I was doing like a whole bunch of stuff, but it was within the same church. The same, people that were leading, they were coming up with these ideas of what to do and how to, make sure that our youth was in the church at all times. Back in the day, Whittier, California was not the greatest, spot in the world. There's a lot of gangs and this and that, so they had to get us into that,
Safe space.
Yeah. And I remember other parishes wanted to be in that program that we had, because, we used to go to Circle V camp. We used to do the LA Marathon, the Los Alamitos Marathon. We baked cookies. We did plays. We did the Christmas play and this and that. There was always something that we were doing, and now, because of this stuff, we don't get to do much, because we're so used to the phone, we're so used to tech, we're so used to everything being here, and now with this pandemic, we're in zeros.
yeah,
We're like, wait, what are we gonna do? Right. And it's like, and to get to the point that we're talking about, one of the things that being as a perfectionist is, you gotta also learn how to teach others how to move forward with the projects that you start, or the ideas that you bring into the table for the church. Because again, when that happened in my church, when the actual pastor passed away, there was nothing else that we could do. Nobody else. There was no church to.
It was like this. All the success of your program was solely on your pastor. When he passed away, there was nobody that could fill those shoes, and it kind of fell apart.
And there was nobody else to teach the next pastor how things were moving. He just came in and he made all these changes, and things just know.
And I think that's the hard part too about sometimes with pastors, is that a parish can work really hard on a culture like we're talking about, because it's so important, I think, in all the ministry life of everything you're doing at your parish. And then if a pastor comes in and doesn't know the culture and wasn't taught, sometimes they get kind of painted as the bad guy, I think, unfortunately, when they don't even know. They're just trying to do the best that they can. But if nobody goes to them and says, hey, this is what works here, and give him a chance to really see for himself, then he can make his adjustments or add his spin to it or whatever it may be. But I think that's a huge point, is ministry needs to be about ministering and preparing other ministers. Right. It's not just about, if a leader can leave and the program falls apart, you've led it wrong.
Right.
So.
But you were talking about specifically in your music program, you had like a mentor that you were looking up to, and he held you to the highest standard, right?
Yeah. This guy, his name is Mauricio Centeno. He's actually a OCP composer, and I've had the privilege and the blessing of being surrounded by all these people, all this, Hispanic composers from OCP, and so, he would just tell me, like, sometimes it's like, hey, we don't come to the, to rehearse, to learn the song. We come to put it together. If you can't do it right, don't even show up to church, man. Like, just don't.
Wow. Yeah.
You're not working for me. You're working for the big guy over here. So.
But so many people are afraid, that are in leadership roles, are afraid to talk to their volunteers that way. Did you go running away? You're like, I never want to come back. Or
no, because again, you got to earn your respect.
Right.
He earned it, from me. And it's like, when I saw the difference of what he was talking about, I'm like, oh, I get it. So the next time that he will, call me on something, I didn't take it the wrong way. And it was like,
Right.
It's like, all right, I messed up. Let me do it again. Or you know what? I go out and apologize, and I work harder to not disappoint him, and to not disappoint the congregation, because that was his deal. He's like, look, you're not doing it for here. That's for them. If you mess up, their concentration in what we're celebrating, it's off.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you just messed up their day or the mass for them. And I would like think about it. I'm like, oh snap! Like, man, am I that important? He will make you feel important, so important that you will feel guilty on some things that you did wrong that he wouldn't even tell you. He wouldn't even tell me anymore. He would just like, he didn't even have to look at me. I already knew that I messed up. I'm like, damn. I'm like, damn. But again, the leadership, the people, you got to earn the respect. You got to show the people what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Not just say, hey, Danny, this and that. No, don't say it. It's like, do it, teach them. If they mess up, then you call it and be like, hey,
And I think that it takes a strong leader to be able to recognize that, because, like, for instance, at youth ministry, I have certain teens in my program or team members in the program where I can say, if something goes wrong, I can go to them and be like, what happened?
Right.
Why did this go this way? I need you to be this, this, and this.
Right.
And they'll take that constructively and they'll go, okay, no problem, I'll fix it. Or next time I'll be better. But then there's other people where you kind of have to be more gentle with your approach, and I think it just takes that strong leader. So that leader saw in you, like, this guy can take it, because I know you probably saw obviously what you were capable of becoming within you, and knew that push was going to help you get there. I had a very similar with my youth minister. I would always be like, why is everyone else getting to leave and I'm sitting here still stacking chairs? I'm getting yelled at. I'm getting pushed harder than anybody else. I don't understand.
Right.
And then I go back years later, I'm like, oh, he saw something in me, and he was molding me, and he was pushing me to be who he saw and who God was putting on his heart to motivate, and then who God was saw in me to become. I didn't realize it at the time, but that push of that leadership was really key.
But right now, everybody's so sensitive.
That's
everybody's sensitive.
You can't say anything. Honestly, you can't say anything at all. Nothing negative. Because everybody's like, oh, well,
you're mean.
No, we're gonna have to have a conversation with the pastor. It's like, well, bring it in, bring it on, let's do it.
I love it. Is giving that hard truth, and this goes back to, we just had an episode last night that we filmed. I don't know when all these are gonna air, but about leading people to the truth. Whether we're talking about the truth of you better do a good job musically, or the truth of what this faith is all about, right? But you have to lead them there through beauty and through goodness first. And if you don't go through those channels, they're not going to be able to be receptive to hear that truth, right?
Right.
So I love what you said about, you have to earn that respect from the people that are volunteering in your ministry. So if I'm leading a choir, if they don't respect me, if I come down on them hard and say, like you said, if you're not prepared, don't show up. They're not going to hear it. They're going to be like, that guy sucks. I'm never coming back to the choir, right? But if I have earned their respect through my actions, through what I've said, through what I've shown them, they have seen, in essence, the goodness, the beauty and the goodness, and now they are ready to receive the truth. So I can hold them to that higher standard. I can kind of be a hard ass director and be like, no, this isn't going to cut it. It reminded me of one of my favorite choir members in my previous parish. He was a drummer, and like, he respected me so much. I taught him piano, but he was playing drums, and he was just like Jesse is his name, and he's just like the most polite young man I've ever met, and he always wanted to do his best and impress me. I want to make sure this is still recording because this turned off. Let me finish this point, and then so he always wanted to make sure that he impressed me, and if he did mess up during mass, a lot of times I wouldn't have to look at him. Sometimes I would just like give a little like peripheral eye glance, and he'd be like, man. And we talk about it after mass, and I'd be like, dude, don't worry about it. It's fine. You're gonna come back. You're gonna grow. Let's take a quick break and let's come right back.
So we're talking about positive examples and how important that is in the life of a church. So, and even just you guys are talking about musically, but even just the minor things you can do is, I'll go back to whenever I'm on a retreat, summer retreat, my own personal confirmation retreats, whatever, when it's a mealtime, I always eat last. I just always am last in line because, you know, my point is that I'm there as a servant to serve these people, let them go first, and I'll eat at the end. And then on my retreats, I started to notice that my leadership team would wait at the end, and they were waiting with me.
Right.
And then it got to the point where just this last year on retreat, I remember that it was like me and then like 4 or 5 of my of the young adults and the adult leaders were like, all right, Danny, you go, we'll go behind you.
Right.
And just setting that example of like, oh, so now you guys want to be the ministers that are the examples that go last. That little tiny thing like that just starts a culture.
It starts a culture
of you know, so that they'll go back, and then in a couple of years, if I'm gone, they'll know like whoever the leadership is, the leadership goes last. We know that our leadership eats last.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we're talking about leadership. It goes up to even the priests and pastors. You know, I think that
Absolutely.
When there's a new replacement, you know, or somebody that's gonna come in, I don't think they do their research completely before they put someone new. You know, it seems like there's always that problem in every church. A new pastor comes in, he wants to be the next president of the United States. You know, it's like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it's like, no, I mean, there's a certain way that things are running.
Or worse yet, it's a parish that's thriving, and when there's a new assignment, they go,
Too much stuff going on.
Who's on their last assignment that can just retire quietly? Let's throw them. They couldn't screw it up that much because this parish is thriving. And then what happens? Like,
I mean, that's what happened to our church. You know, to my church in St. Mary's.
Yeah.
This new priest, and again, I don't have to even say names. You know, a lot of people left the church because of that. They went to the nearest church around there. You know, and I think that's basically what happens in everything, you know, in the youth ministry, in the choir.
Yep.
You know, the same thing, you know, everything is, you know, I mean, that's what it is, you know, pretty much. So if you actually built something and you make it right and you let it, you know, you pass the torch and people are continuing with that same, you know, the same, I don't know, I wouldn't even know how to put it, but if they continue with the same idea, but even make it better or make it their own with the same principles, I think that's what really works, right? I mean, that's what Jesus did.
Right.
You know, it's like he put the principles, you know, he made it like, okay, this is the table, this is what we're going to do. Now you jump into it and build something into it, you know, make it your own. You know, that's why a lot of people don't understand that, you know, for example, you know, they have the 12, well, basically 11 apostles, you know, during the work, but there were some that didn't even like each other, you know, but it didn't matter, you know, and here sometimes we don't address things because that's the way, you know, everybody's so like, everybody's just so sensitive to everything. And yet Jesus will never talk to you in a nice way to his apostles.
he tells you the hard truth.
Yeah,
but he commanded the respect.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, you got to show.
Yeah.
He showed people like, hey, you know, it's like, what else do you want? Like, look. And then, but what I'm saying is like, people compare the love of God and the love, you know, when Jesus was on earth and this and that's like, I have never read any part on the Bible where he said like really nice things to Peter or to any of the apostles. I don't think I've ever seen it or read it. Every time there was like, oh yeah, you know, you guys are not believers or you guys are whatever. It's like,
It's like, you're doing fine.
Well, yeah.
It's okay.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, you know, I'm a little bit of a, like, I'm becoming more of a scripture nerd myself. And to exactly your point, we're talking about that like giving the harsh truth, but also, you know, obviously you got to appreciate volunteers, appreciate people and things like that. But let's take that example of Peter, right? Where in scripture, back 2 weeks, right? It goes from 1 week, Peter's being praised because Peter says like, you are the Son of God. Jesus asked him, and Peter's like, you're the Son of God. And Jesus is like, you know this, nobody else does, because you are chosen by God. Like, God has plans for you. You got the keys to the kingdom. 1 week later, Jesus is like, get behind me.
1 week later.
So it's like, he went from being, you're chosen by God, the keys to the kingdom, to get out of my way, Satan.
yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess, and Jesus didn't love him any less.
Right.
Right,
And did
no.
But
Peter
it was
go,
that hard truth of like, what are you doing? You're an obstacle to me. Like, you know what I got to do. You found out a week ago that I was the Son of God.
Right.
And now you're telling me that you don't want to let me fulfill my mission? Get out of here.
But Peter respected him so much that he didn't go, "Oh, I
Well,
can't. I'm gonna take off because that's too."
Imagine.
You
Say
know,
Peter's like, well, my feelings are hurt,
My
so I'm
feelings
out
are
of here.
hurt.
Yeah, like, see you. Let me go to the next.
But no, he respected him so much. He's like, "Oh man, that's a hard truth, but I'm gonna work harder and
Exactly.
I'm gonna screw up again because he did, but like Jesus still came back and loved him more and kept pushing him harder.
Yeah,
right.
and it wasn't
They
just all
felt that
rainbows.
fire within them when they were next to Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to do. We need to be able to make or teach other people to have that fire within themselves. It's like, hey, look. But sometimes we don't tell our story, and that's the problem too. We keep it for ourselves. We don't show them. We don't open up. We're putting a lot of stupid stuff in Facebook, but we don't open up to our own people.
Right.
So it's like people
Great
don't
point.
know us, but when you actually put it on the table and they see it and they
Dude.
know where you come from, it's like, oh, okay. That's the number one reason why I do my YouTube, videos. People have seen me in Congress, people have seen me, pretty much everywhere in the United States and sometimes, in South America and this and that. And everybody will see me up here, right? But nobody knows my story of how I got to that part, to that level. So my YouTube videos show me. They show my wrongdoings. They show my good stuff. They show everything.
Yeah, you're not just up here on a pedestal
Yeah,
saying, pointing your
no.
finger, do this, do that,
Right,
do this.
no.
They're like, who am I?
Yeah, I
Right?
struggle too. I practice
Yeah.
2 hours a day too, an hour a day too, because I gotta be good for the church, be good for the congregation.
Well, and even that point of you already sharing that moments of where I feel I'm not good enough. I don't always feel like, I may be at this. You see me at these places playing with the big shots and playing all these great things, but I still have those moments where I'm by myself where I think, man, am I not good enough to be doing this? And that's just showing your heart, the humanity that even these people that are in these positions that we think, they're the top of the faith chain, right? All these people, but we're all just chasing God.
Of course.
We're all just weak humans that need God and constantly are pursuing him. So I think that's beautiful that showing of that heart. That's a great point that I think more ministers need to do. And more priests I wish would do.
Right.
Is remember that, like, show your humanity. That's important.
I literally just watched a video this morning while I was eating breakfast, Father Mike Schmidt, and it was a question, those little Ascension Presents questions, like 7 minutes long. And the question was like, what's it like to be a Catholic speaker? And he's like, I really felt weird about answering this question because, well, first of all, it doesn't apply to everyone who's watching, but he goes like, he says, I've met people all over the United States and over the world that like say, I play your videos and you're like our catechist at our church. And he goes like the human part of me goes like, oh, I'm so awesome. I'm teaching people all over the world. But he's like, what I'm not doing is I'm not like in it, in the messiness of the relations, the human to human interaction that he's like, what I do doesn't hold a candle to what the catechists, what the people in the churches that are really dealing with those human relationships are doing. And
Yes, I want you to finish that point, but I think that we're going to dive into the live stream because I think there's a point with live streaming for parishes too. To your point,
hit it.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's go. That's point over.
Because here's the on that point of that Father Mike is saying, cool, I'm on the video and I say great things because he does, but that. I'm not in the messiness of it. I'm not in the culture of it. I went to my pastor when COVID started and live stream was the thing. And I first went to him and I said, let's live stream. He's like, no, like I don't want to. I'm not confident I'm fine at Sunday Mass, but there's Bishop Barron, there's Father Mike, there's you can watch the Vatican on TV.
Right.
There's plenty of things for people to watch that have great production value. They have great speakers. They have great whatever it may be. And I went to my pastor and I said, the people want to see you. You're their pastor.
Good point. Yes.
You're their shepherd. It doesn't matter if your homily is the best thing that's going to change everybody's life. It doesn't matter. They want to see you. You're their pastor. And we did it. And the first couple live streams, because of me, were absolutely awful because I couldn't figure out how to turn my phone the right way, and or I was holding it weird, and whatever it may be. But as we continued, people of the parish were so relieved. Monsignor, thank you for doing Mass. Right. Thank you for being on the live stream. Thank you it's so nice to see the inside of our church, hear a voice that we know. That point is because, we could watch the big head honchos doing all the great things, but to see the people that we have relationship with, that we know the heart of, that's so important. Yeah,
that's losing your community. At some point, that's what is going on right now. I have a course that teaching parishes how to do live streaming to a high level with whatever they got, but teaching them basics and camera stuff and things like that.
I was already thinking about that, but when we talked, I was like, dude, that's genius, because that's so needed in our church right now. You could watch some YouTube videos on Christian churches, but nobody's doing it specifically for how do you do Catholic. This in your Catholic churches. So do you have a link available that we can put it in there?
I could give you the link so people could see. There's different videos.
So tell us more about it. Like what exactly goes on?
Pretty much is it's teaching. Number one thing is, and it goes to, I think, your department. It's the youth, right?
Uh-huh.
A lot of nowadays, a lot of the people that are in charge or that have a responsibility at church are people that are much older.
Right.
So some of these people, the only thing they could do is get their phone and go into Facebook, and that's it. So there's no people, doing tech stuff. And we need it the most right now. And so what I did was I made a course into like 5 different days, 5 different steps into how to do a live streaming to a very high level with minimum items of, tech, but just knowing basic, because even in your phone, you could change settings.
Totally.
People don't know. Sometimes even the ISO, you could change it, but you just got to download an app.
How many live streams have you seen where you're watching it and it's this pumping effect of you see it goes light and dark and everyone's like, I don't know how to change this.
Right.
It's like we know how to like scour the internet and look how to fix that in your phone, but a lot of people don't. And so these are kind of things that you're teaching.
Yeah,
in the course,
and then
right?
I do live streams myself, like a Q&A, and people could just jump in and ask, for whatever they want.
On your Facebook page.
On Facebook and on YouTube, because I live stream on both.
Right.
So
and it looks very good. It's very professional. That's kind of how we really connected.
Yeah.
You were watching some of my stuff. I was watching yours. We need to team up.
And I go very, very basic. I have people that are like probably in their 50s, 60s learning how to do this.
Awesome.
Because that's the only people that are willing to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, okay, where's the youth? And this is where I come to pastors and priests and I let them know, because we have conversations. It's like, well, doesn't the church say that the youth is the future of the church? Why aren't we looking for the youth?
Well, the future's here quicker than we expected.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, but why aren't we?
Yeah.
And I tell them, look, there's nobody here. Now, let's create a program where you motivate people. You have a production team. You pay them to motivate them too, a little bit. And then you get what you want. They get what they want. They learn so much, and you don't have to worry about a thing. You could do, it's not only Mass, because what you were talking about, a lot of priests think that just by doing live streaming the Mass, 2 Masses or 3 Masses every Sunday, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not. It's people like to go into Instagram. How do you get your own community to stay there on Instagram? Okay, now you got a little thing here. Now you got a little thing on Facebook. Now you gotta be creative, and for that you need a production team, and you need people that are creative so they can bring in the ideas, and the communities it stays together. And they're not watching the Pope. I mean, nothing wrong against the Pope, but you want to have your community stay together for this whole entire time.
Yeah.
So they feel at home. They feel like, the priest really cares about them.
Yep.
And everybody.
That's a huge point.
And sometimes even like, we're doing for another parish, little segments of like 1-minute reflections, every day. And so we record like the little videos, right? And it's like people are commenting, oh, thank you, for the reflection today or whatever. little things like that can make a difference on the entire community. You know?
Yeah, I think that's huge, and I commend parishes that have volunteers. Ryan's been doing a really beautiful job at his parish getting priests, deacons, lay people to do these reflections and bringing a really high level of quality. And I think that it's great that having the willingness of people that work at the parish to share their heart, as we spoke about.
Right.
Share their heart, share their opinions, that get on, because for us, it's easy. We're on camera every week, multiple times a week. I have no problem putting on a camera and talking to it.
Right.
For some people, it's scary. It's something that they haven't done, especially maybe these older folks. And that's why I commend what you're doing with your deacons and things like that, because I'm sure they're like, oh, geez, I don't want to get on camera.
They're very nervous, but they're trying and they're getting better as they go. And
Yeah.
they're open to it.
And it's putting the trust in those people that are creative to, hey, let me take care of it. Just I need you to say this, and I'll take it from there.
Right. And
then letting us do our work in the post department. But I think that's huge. And back to what you were saying about getting those youth involved, I think that is the key, because not only will it bring a high level of creativity, but it helps the youth who may be estranged to come back to the church.
Yeah.
It gives them a purpose, because sometimes they leave. I've seen it. The youth will leave. They're like, well, I did my thing. You know, especially young adults like out of high school.
Right.
You know, like between, you know, that young adult demographic, 18 to 49, which is a little vast, but, you know, 18 to 30, we'll say.
Right.
Is they don't feel like they have a purpose. They don't feel like, well, what do I do now? I'm not in youth ministry anymore. I'm not really old enough I don't have a family yet. Like, what can I do? How can I be involved in the church?
Right.
There's so many ways, especially now that we could be inviting them, motivating them to be involved, make them feel valued, and then they can provide a valuable service to the church.
And you know what? It goes back to the teaching of our faith, to religion. Sometimes, you know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like we're not really scared of God anymore.
Sure.
So when we think about doing stuff, sometimes I hate when people, and I do say it this way, I do hate it when people say, well, that's the way God, you know, he wants me to be, or that's the highest level that God, you know, it's like, don't blame God for what, you know, your mediocre stuff.
Sure.
Don't blame him. He's giving you the best that he can for you. You just got to take the extra step and make it right.
Yeah.
So
don't put a limit on God.
Right. It's like, don't blame him. The dude is super busy, you know, he's doing other things, you know? So, and it's like, you know, it goes down to, like you mentioned before, you know, it's like sometimes it's so hard to connect to the, you know, with them at this moment, because there's so many, I'm sorry to say it this way, but there's so many old people in charge of our church.
Yep.
So many old people
at my church right now. God bless them. There's two older gentlemen, seasoned people, and they've taken over our daily mass live stream. I kind of showed them. We have a low key setup for the daily mass, and they run it. And because I was doing it all during the first few months of COVID, and I was so gracious that they were like, hey, we want to do this. We go to daily mass normally, so just show us how to do it and we'll do it. So I didn't have to start going every morning at 7:30. You know?
I was in the same boat.
Right. And it's
the same boat.
It'll burn you out, right? But they don't know how to do all the tech stuff, right? And now I'm trying to train them. We got like the high, you know, your highest tier setup that you would be pitching these churches.
Right.
My church got that, but it's pretty involved. We have a whole command center with multiple computers, and I'm running through.
Cool.
I'm running from, you know, a 3-camera shoot to OBS to go into Facebook and running all these different plugins and stuff like that, and it freaked them out, and they're like, we can't do this.
They're like, I thought we were pushing a button.
Yeah, they're like, we can't do this, you know. And so I actually can't be there this weekend because we're going to the March for the Martyrs, and I had to create this week. I created like a 6-page sheet of literally like word for word, step by step, from how to turn on the computer to what buttons to press, and do you double, like they don't, you know, like my parents and some like they don't know if on a computer if they should double click something or single click something. You know what I'm talking about, right? You're like, Mom, it's a single click. Are you kidding me?
and God bless those guys for like wanting to step in.
Yes, if you're listening, thank you.
But I think to the point of it, there are young people out there that can do these things, that want to. I'll speak to my live stream team. We have a whole production team. We have one guy who's older guy, not super old or anything, but he's a brainiac, and he is a audiovisual mastermind. He created our whole sound system and our whole outdoor production and everything, and he like when a speaker is broken, he's like just takes the wire and he sits there at the table during mass and solders it back together. I'm like, how are you doing this? But that's the kind of guy he is. He's so smart. But then he goes, Danny, find me a team. And we amassed a team of young people, young college students. You know, my girlfriend is like a brainiac, and she wrote pages of notes.
Right.
And is like created a diagram on the computer of where all the chords go, and it's all color coordinated, and she's like, anybody could figure it out. It's like, here you go. It's all perfectly typed out.
Right.
And then we have a team of one of my best friends works for the school district as the tech guy. My other buddy is a middle school teacher, and these are tech guys that weren't necessarily super involved in the parish, but I went, hey, I need you to be on this audio team. And now they're at mass 4 times a weekend. Now they're helping with all these things. They're motivated to be involved, to make the mass the best that we can for the people. I can't help but look at God found a way to call them home, and now they're providing value and they're being used.
Right. But and at that level where you're at, now I think the hardest part is how to maintain the people to stay there.
Well, that's another point.
Because I mean, again, the root of everything is the faith, right? Because there's a lot of people involved in the church, and I'm not just talking about COVID. It's throughout the time, that I've been in the church for my whole entire life, but there's always been professional people involved,
right?
And they bring in their, the things that they know to the table, and they help the church, whether it be business or whatever, there's always some type of help. So now sometimes one of the things that, we lack is, okay, well, yes, there's the tech, there's the this, there's the that, but where's the faith?
Yeah.
How do you stay there, And one of the ththings that I've learned from, my mentor was that he will never say that, oh yeah, it's because of me, oh yeah, you got to be here or you got to do this right. No, he would always point at the big guy. He's like, he's the guy. You're not working for me. He's like, that's who you need to impress every single Sunday, So when you actually get to that level and you actually teach it that way, you start thinking, because I had a lot of questions about the faith that I didn't know, but I was in that search because my mentor said something that I'm like, wait, why did he say that?
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm gonna, and then I will go,
right.
And then ask my dad, hey dad, I just got screamed at. Why? Because this is,
But he instilled those qualities in you, though, and now, you saw a need, and you've taken over. You've picked up that torch, and you're hoping, like, again, click on that link, guys, because I think this is a huge need in our church. But you're able to reach a far, far, far larger audience in terms of parishes than just the silo of a single church. Because now with our age of technology, we've been thrust into the modern technological future, and so now you have that opportunity to reach people on a larger scale, and that's what you're planning to do with this program,
with everything. It's not just the tech. I mean, that's the first part, to get the team.
Right.
Then it's like, what are you going to do with the team? It's not just setting up and doing mass. That's it. No, there's more.
I have a quick point on that, and this is a hard truth right here. And I told this to my pastor too. We spent, I told you, a lot of money on getting this huge setup, right? A camera, making it look nice and sound good. But at the end of the day, if the product of what you're showing isn't that same quality of what the cameras might look nice, but if the music's not good, if the preaching's not good, if the church doesn't look good,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Those things sometimes get overlooked. You think if just like our production here, if I bought a $50,000 red camera and I was like, and bought even better lights and we're like, this production's amazing, but we didn't
the content
center
sucks.
ourselves.
Yeah.
The content sucks. People were like, I don't care how good this looks.
Yeah.
You guys don't know what you're talking about. This
Right.
sucks, right? So you need to invest in your church just as much in your live stream, into your music, into your homiletics training, into your environment crew. Instead of just like saying, off you go, just figure out something for the church for this weekend. Like, have plans of action to make the church look beautiful.
Right.
Right?
And
in all aspects.
Yeah, in all aspects. But I mean, yeah, I think we lost that touch in the faith part, and I think, that's what's going on across the country,
Yeah.
It's just, it's just that. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard to explain. But
well,
yeah.
To what you were saying about your mentor, and I really liked it because it's something that we've talked about before, and I think that it's a problem with a lot of people in ministry, and I think all of us maybe have suffered in it for at a time. Is a lot of us as ministers, sometimes we forget that we're not God, that we are not Jesus, and we need to stop trying to lead ministry like we are,
right?
And remember that like do ministry like John the Baptist, not like Jesus. John the Baptist always led people back to the Father and reminded everyone, it's not me, it's him.
It's him.
I'll show you, I'll tell you, but it's him.
Right.
I'm not worthy to even, tighten his sandals. He's the one.
Right.
But a lot of us, we stand up and when we preach, or when I stand up at youth ministry and I'm saying all this great stuff, and like all I'm doing is I'm not the guy.
Right.
We need to remember in ministry, whatever we're doing, when we're at music. I'm not a musician, but like it can be easy to fall into like how great was the music, right?
Yeah.
But the music isn't about me, it's about him. And we need to all, if we were a church of John the Baptist, if we were a church of Peter's, that's what will get people back to that faith that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Making the faith the priority.
Right. And it goes back to everything that you do. It's not just the music like you mentioned, it's just everything, We're not afraid of God anymore. We don't, on the podcast that we did with Ryan, I was telling him that I'm afraid to, when I die and I knock on God's door, he's not going to open it. Just imagine that. It's like, hello, I'm here.
He's looking through the people. He's like,
no, he's not even opening the door. Like,
he's like,
just like
you remember when you mess up the Gloria? You're not coming in here.
You're not coming in.
You're like,
so true.
Dang it. I guess I'll just go down the stairs then.
And that's one of the things that I'm afraid of. But it seems like we've lost our way on that. Even some honestly, even some priests, in their homilies, they don't want to say things in a more open way. They want to just
generally
keep
speaking.
it. Yeah,
they don't want to. They're afraid of those hard truths. So
it's
right?
like, now you're gonna have some other people just after mass.
Right.
Hey, Father, why did you?
So speaking of hard truths, we're going a little long, but I have one more little thing I want to dive into before we wrap this up. So we're going to talk about. We want to be a podcast of solutions and not just talk about the problems. So I'm not saying we have the solutions, but let us at least have an open discussion about what we can do to move ourselves in the future and come up with some positive ways that we could change and move forward. All right, so we're trying to be a podcast with solutions, but the difficult thing that we're faced with right now is that our churches don't have a lot of money because we've been shut down for 6 months. We haven't had people coming in. We haven't had the normal income stream that's been going on. And we're
missing big incomes of Easter and Holy Week, and sacraments. Those are big income streams for the church.
Exactly.
And missing those is crazy.
And we're over here preaching we need to step up our live stream. We need to step up the music. We need to step up all these things. But it's the reality is that costs money. So what are some possible, I have an idea, but I want to hear from you guys. What are some possible solutions that we might come up with here? Things our churches could do in this time of crisis.
You want to start?
Well, mine is kind of a call to action, I guess. A little bit is more if you're, and I'm only speaking from my church's point of view, is if you're out there and you're listening and you feel you can bring something to the table for the church, you can help the church with a talent, with just, hey, I got 2 hands and a fighting chance, I can step up and help. Do it. Go. Help. Ask if you can help. How can I help? Because I promise you, if your church is outside and your church is trying to live stream or do a mass outside, they need extra help. I guarantee it.
Right.
Because I got a team of about 10 people that are there on our audio visual setup team, and we still are like, oh no, we need someone to do this. We need someone to do this. And there's always a need for help.
Right.
Or if you can give the person that's been there every single week, all day long, hey, go get breakfast and I'll take this mass. Promise you they'll appreciate it. Right. So my solution would be, without a monetary thought on it yet, a call to action. Help out, step up. And on the other side of that, if you are in a position of leadership or a paid position at your church, appreciate your volunteers and do what you can to make them have value in what they're doing and they want to come back. If you can't, so you can't pay them, can you be, extra affirmative? Can you give them recognition? Even if it's as simple as, hey, I really want, go on your Facebook. I really want to thank our tech team. Bob, Jim, Sally, and Susie, you guys were fantastic this weekend. Thank you very much. Sometimes that's all people need, is that little tiny bit of recognition, and it goes a long way. Mm-hmm. So that would be my point on those things, but I'm sure there's a lot of other monetary things.
No, that's a great way to start.
Yeah, my point of it's a little deeper. It goes into stewardship, because I've experienced all types of things with, even before COVID, with poor churches or not, or well-off churches, One of the things that, maybe because I'm more involved in the, the inside team, than the congregation part. So one of the things that we got to do is, and I feel like, that needs to be said the way it should is, you got to give people, you got to invest in people, like, so they could bring it could be money, it could be anything back to the church. In this case, stewardship, a lot of people don't know about this stuff. It goes a long way, with, if you actually give $2 every weekend, but you never stop doing that, you times that by, multiply that by everybody, even if you don't come to church, it might not be the $20 or the $30 that you were given in the past because, you've been affected by COVID, but you're still giving, and then this is where the priest comes into play, and it's like he has to come out and say things raw. It's like, look, guys, we're in trouble. The church does not just function just like that. We got to bring in this, we got to do this, we got to do that. You got to show the people, you got to tell the people. But sometimes our priest or our pastors, they're just they don't want to do that. They don't want to say things. And they don't want to seek for help. There's a lot of people that are rich, man, in our church, to be honest. Yep. A lot of people.
Well, it's
but they don't, but they, just because they're not going to church, they feel like they don't have to.
Well, maybe that's part of the culture that our older, like our parents or grandparents' generation, their culture was always just like, you give to the church, you tithe, right? And as we've gotten further down in towards my age group and younger, maybe that culture hasn't been passed on so much, so it's not ingrained in us that you go to church and you tithe. Right. People are like, oh no, that's what my parents do. Yeah. But like, you know what, your parents are aging out, and now there's no one paying for our churches to stay open.
But one of the things too, and I guess it's gonna be my final point is, for example, if and this is what's going on, if for example, if you're watching the podcast, if you're watching my videos, and you know that I know how to do this and I could help you, reach out to me. Reach out to Ryan.
That's the ultimate answer is reach out to Leo. He got you.
No. I'm saying reach out to Ryan. Reach out to you to give ideas or to show them.
Yes.
But if you don't reach out and you're just like, whatever, or I don't want to do it, it's like, that's not finding a solution for what's going on.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I do not like from everything that I do. That sometimes people don't take advantage of what I'm capable of actually showing them or doing, for them. That's
I think that just to even go deeper, I think what we're saying here is not being afraid to have that vulnerability that you don't know everything and that you need help.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to blame the priest not knowing how to turn on a camera. I know that's not his job to know.
Absolutely.
That's not his job. But one, he could actually learn. But he needs to find someone to teach him.
Right.
Like right now, I'm gonna actually do this week and then next week and all the way up to November. I have different classes that I'm gonna give to different dioceses across California, to priests that don't really have volunteers, but they want to learn. And it's like, because that's the only way that they're gonna be able to do something, for their parishes or for the diocese. So that's pretty cool. And we got some young people, becoming priests. Not everybody's old. We got some, So I think that if you reach out, I mean, I'm talking to people from Boston, from, different pastors from over there.
So the resources are there.
They're there. They just got to look for them. And, always, like you mentioned, it's because now we got to invest. Come on, guys. Like, really? Like, throughout the whole entire, I mean, how can I put it? We've always created budgets for everything.
Right.
We can make it work.
And
if you got to put the money up now so that you have a church for tomorrow. Put the money up today so the church is around tomorrow.
Okay, so there's a point there. If your church continues to play defense right now, you say, "Oh, we're losing money, so we got to pull money away from this and pull money away from this." It's going to be a downward spiral. But you have to think of it as an investment. Thankfully, my pastor did, and so many others are in the live stream setup. They go, this is a lot of money, but we do have it. We just need to allocate it. We need to properly budget and find the money for this and invest into the future of our church and move to an offensive stance, right? So that's a big reason. And I was talking about where is your priorities, right? So like what do you consider essential? Because again, like this is in terms of creating budgets, like we were just talking about it. You got to trim the trees. There's certain essential things, but it's creating that culture for the pastors or whoever's creating or ultimately having the business decisions, getting them to an understanding of like, this is the priority. This should be the priority. The biggest point though that I wanted to make was changing our mindset as a parish, as a church entirely, from this is the way we've always done it, so this is the way that we're going to continue to do it, to everything has changed, and so we need to rethink the way we operate and run. So that's going to come down to a lot of like, we've had to, like I said, we've had to furlough people. We've had to lay people off entirely. I'm sure that's across the board, all churches. But like, properly paying for somebody who can do a bang up job. And you're going to have to find somebody that does that can wear a lot of hats these days.
Yep.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm the best person out there, but I'm doing music. I'm doing the live stream. I'm doing tech. I'm doing our website. I'm doing Facebook. I'm doing videos. But there's people out there that can do a lot of these things. But you're gonna have to properly pay them. So what's better, paying a 5 to 15 hour position for like 8 people who all kind of can do an okay job at one particular thing, or paying somebody really well. There's one person that can like lead all of these different ministries and head them up. So I think you have to kind of hedge your bets and find that really amazing leader that can do a lot of wonderful things, because church is always going to come down to volunteers, but they're going to follow that person that creates the culture that holds the high, the like the mentor that you were talking about, the youth minister that we were talking about earlier, the music ministers that really, they know their stuff, that everybody looks up to, that they show that this is how it's done, and everybody's going to want to sign up. People are going to flock to this person. Right. Ultimately, you want to find the person that keeps pointing on that John the Baptist thing that we're talking about, but they can do a bang up job that gets paid appropriately, so that they're there, but that's about allocating your budget right for the right person, and that the culture will follow.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, the church doesn't just hire anybody to do paychecks. They need a business manager. Mm-hmm. They need a CPA to do different things. They need a music director. That dude or that person needs to know how to do music
and do it liturgically correct.
Yeah. So right. I mean, it's the same thing with what's going on now. I mean, we're paying the price for something that we haven't done in so long. The church entirely. I've been bringing this up for a long time now. It's like, hey guys, we need to be on social media. I used to, even to like the companies like WP, GIA, OCP. I've been telling them for the past 5 years, hey guys, we need to be doing this. We need to be on YouTube. Now everybody's paying the price. I'm not going to sit here and say I told you, but yeah, I told you.
Everyone's scrambling right now.
But it's like, I told you so,
yeah. Right.
So, and I'm not I've been helping other people, other businesses. I haven't really worked on mine, but I'm getting paid to do this to other people.
Yeah.
Other people are being, they have successful companies and whatnot because that, I told them ahead of time and they took advantage and they, they're doing it now. Obviously, I'm doing good because, I brought the idea, but, we're paying the price big time, big time. Where this is big consequences because we're just not, on the dot with technology, and it's hurting.
But one message I want to speak to on that real quick, like, is it's not too late. It's not too late. We've been left behind. We've been left in the dust by Christian churches, by everyone else who's just crushing on social media, on live stream platforms, everything. And we're like, oh my gosh, how far back are we? Like incredibly, but like it's not too late. Like we talked about, you want to create something, start now. Start today.
now. Now's the time.
Right. So don't say, oh, it's too far out of reach.
Yeah. It's not.
Do it.
Yeah, this is your call to action.
Yeah. And it's easier than ever.
Yeah. There's so many resources.
All you got to do is click that link right below, and you pop over to Leo's website right there.
No, you can do it with the phone.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, I when we first started Livestream, I bought a $15 phone tripod.
Nice.
And that was it. And I used my phone. That was it. And then we stepped it up and plugged it into the legitimate sound system, and I bought a nice, $100 gimbal so it's smooth and all that.
Right.
But when we first started, $15 is what it costs to start the live stream. $15.
Yeah.
Every church has $15.
Yeah, of course.
So,
dude, I know production, and that's how my church started at the beginning of COVID. There was a progression.
yeah.
But you have to just start. You have to start somewhere. You can't look at what all the churches who are crushing it and saying, "Oh, well, we're never going to be able to get to that."
And exactly, and that's the thing. Why I will continue to commend my pastor for is because I bought the tripod, whether I knew he was going to say yes or not. I just bought with the thing. I said we can do it. It was like Thursday. I said this Sunday we can live stream mass this Sunday from the chapel when back in March when this started.
Right.
Say I'm ready to do it right now. It's not okay, let me get the stuff and I'll let you know if we can do it. No, we can do it Sunday.
Right.
Let's do it. Right. And then, okay, that worked. That was cool. How can we make it better? And then as soon as we started, then all of a sudden the tech guys started kind of coming out and going, hey, I can help. Hey, I can bring this. Hey, I can add this. Hey, I can do this. All right, now it grows. Now boom, here we go. And now when outside came, we had a whole production because it was ready to go.
Yeah, you opened up that door for everybody. And that's one of the things that we do need, for people to open the door, and you got to be careful because you got to be inviting, but at the same time, you got to, like I said, earn the respect of people that you don't come here just to spend your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have a good time with us, but we're here to work.
Yep.
We're here to make things better. We're here for you to learn, how to use a camera, how to use a mic. When it comes down to downtime, all right, we'll mess around. We'll do this, we'll do that. But, again, quality. And it's not for you. It's not for me. It's for God. And whatever you make, if you're making a difference now on people's lives, that's what God is going to see. He's not going to see anything else. It's like, all right, I know you love your family, but do you love somebody else? Did you love your neighbor? Did you love that?
I think that's it. That's the end point right there. Is that all of this comes down to production. All the things that we're doing it for God. We're doing it to further the kingdom, to make the church better, to make people have better connections with the Lord. And I think that's really what it comes down to. So
creating a culture to foster the growth of the church.
Culture of new content.
Culture of new, that'll be something in the title for our episode.
I was actually thinking that maybe when I die and when I go to heaven, hopefully, I could live stream from heaven. You know what I mean? Be like, hey, God, just give them a chance just to look at it a little bit. Only on Facebook, if you want to. Yeah. Let them see what's going on up here.
Connection lost.
No.
All right. We have one more question we always ask as we wrap up. This might be our longest podcast ever, but this has been such a fruitful discussion. We just wanted to keep it rolling, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't forget this time. So the last question we always ask, kind of just random, but what is your favorite board game that you like to play?
Oh, and you know what? I don't know if you guys remember Battleship.
Dude, love it.
Yeah. We
have good memories of Battleship. So
but the last time that I bought one, and that was like such a long time, it's the one where you actually had like little lights on it already.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, that hands down my favorite game.
Like a la 1996 when it was like the upgraded version with LEDs.
It's so funny. Ryan and I, we on a road trip to Indianapolis once, and we had a travel battleship, and we played it on our legs. Like we had the battleship on our legs.
Until we hit a bump and everything.
And then it went awful. And Ryan didn't know, but like he was wearing glasses, and I could see his battleships in his glasses.
I got so mad.
And he's like, how are you hitting every time? I don't know. I don't know if it's cheating. It's right there. How can I not see? Like I can't lie. If I made a bad guess, that would be lying.
Do you have a specific strategy that you like to go for in Battleship?
No, I just have fun. Honestly, I play a lot of different games. More like with my kids because I have 3 kids. You know, I have my last baby boy. He's 2 months.
Wow,
So,
congratulations.
But thank you. But I have a 5-year-old, 9-year-old. They love Uno. You know,
classic.
I
Dude,
like
you're doing
Uno,
it right,
but-
spacing them out like that, because the 9-year-old can take care of the 2-month-old at this point, right?
Oh, they're all in like a 4 to 5
Yeah,
year
yeah.
difference, you know. So
Yeah.
it's cool. But Battleship, I mean, we, you know, even my sisters and my brother, they go to the house and they play with my kids, and you know, they all play like different board games, you know.
Yeah.
The one thing one of the games that I can't stand is Monopoly. I'm
I'm
can't
also
do
bad
that.
at Monopoly.
It's
I
like,
love it, but most people, yeah. I
like
mean,
too much time. It's like no.
that's a table flipping game.
Yeah, but no strategy. Just, you know, Battleship, just to play and then just have a good time. That's the only time that I could sit in front of someone.
We kind of asked that because we really felt like it started again. We're so connected to our phones and separated from human contact.
Right.
And playing a good old fashioned board game, sitting down with your family, with your friends, really allows you to connect on a personal level and have a human interaction. For
But
once.
I'll tell you, this is not a board game, but this is what I used to have at my house.
Yeah.
And it was a Guitar Hero night.
Yep.
Dude,
Yep.
I used to work for Guitar Hero. Well, we should have an episode on that.
That was the only video game my dad ever played with us.
Oh, really?
Yes, he loved it. He would
I
be like,
had it.
"Whoa, this is like my music." And he just
Yeah.
jammed on Guitar Hero.
You remember that episode
I'd
of
find him
South
in my
Park?
room, he'd just be jamming. Like,
No,
Dad.
I put a setup outside. I actually bought some extra studio monitors for the outside, and then a big screen TV.
Just for Guitar Hero.
everything, and we had those Guitar Hero nights.
Dude, that was the thing. Was like 2008. There was an episode of South Park. It was the funniest thing. So like, all the kids are playing Guitar Hero all day, and then they're playing "Carry On My Wayward Son," and the dad comes downstairs. He's like, "I love this song." He breaks out his electric guitar. He's like, "Guys, check this out." He's like, "Da na na na." And they're like, "Dad, that's so lame." And they're like, "Click, click, 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 click."
yeah. Or he's like, "I can play a Guitar Hero acoustically," and it's just him pushing the buttons and flipping the switch. Anyway, great times. Well, again, Leo, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show, man. This has been a blast.
pleasure.
Anything else you want to plug verbally for our listeners? Because you might not be able to click the link if you're driving to work or whatever. So everything that you want them to check out for you.
I mean, just go into, I'm all over the place, you know, Facebook, Instagram, you know, and YouTube. I mean, you know, just like I always say, look, you know, maybe it's not for you this time, but, you know, if you share the content to other people, it might be good for somebody else, you know, for that day. You know, I always ask, you know, I'm the number one person that always asks for people to, you know, click on the links or people's, you know, links
We're
so they
steal
could,
that for our promo.
you know, because I mean, that's the way it is, you know, just like when you go to church, maybe that homily wasn't for you today, but, you know, it was for somebody else. So, you know, share the content. That's all. I'm in Leonardo Fonseca Oficial, which is official.
Spell your last name for everyone.
So it's Fonseca. Fonseca. So Leonardo Fonseca all across all platforms.
Awesome.
I'll throw some of those links in the description wherever you're listening or watching. Click over, give him some support, give him some love, share this channel, follow and subscribe on all his channels. He does amazing work,
Thank you.
great production, great content. Does a lot of Spanish ministry, but you're branching out into doing
Into the
both
English now,
as well.
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
this has been a blast. Thank you so much
Hey,
for
man.
coming on. We got to do this again.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna do I'll be a follow up at some point on yours, and so now it's a nice collaborative
Yes,
effort.
we're
and
gonna
that's
have
what it's
Danny
all
too.
about.
Yeah.
We're gonna have this
Yeah.
guy here. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's bringing the churches that we're all in our silos. We're
Right.
bringing it. We're all coming together as one, and that's what we should be aiming to do.
Amen.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. As always, we appreciate you. We support you. If you don't mind following us, we didn't really pitch ourselves, but we do.
Two Catholic dudes.
We do that enough. Two Catholic dudes. Find us. You rock. All right. See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.